Okay, so have you ever wished there was a way to like streamline your research,
Yeah,
make it like more efficient,
definitely.
free up some brain space for the the bigger scientific questions?
Absolutely. That's always the goal.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're diving into something that might just be the answer, TeselaGen's electronic lab notebook.
ELN for short.
ELN, exactly. And this isn't like your grandma's digital notepad.
Oh, no, not at all. TeselaGen is calling this a next generation platform, and they're not wrong.
Next generation. What does that even mean in like the context of a lab notebook, though?
Well, think about it this way. Other fields have had these aha moments with software. Like imagine engineering without modern design software.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's a total game changer, right?
Yes. Okay, so is this like that for research?
Exactly. This feels like that kind of leap. It's moving us towards that whole lab of the future idea we keep hearing about.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So, how does it work? They've structured this brochure in a way that really caught my eye. Plan, execute, collaborate. It almost seems too simple.
But sometimes the simplest solutions are the most elegant,
Yeah.
right? And I think they're onto something here, addressing the entire research lifecycle like that.
Okay, so let's break it down then, starting with plan, which seems pretty crucial. I mean, you've got to start somewhere, right?
Right. And it's not just about starting. It's about starting smart. You know what they say, fail to plan, plan to fail, right?
Woof. Yeah, true that.
And TeselaGen seems to really get that. They understand that meticulous planning is the foundation of good science.
Makes sense. And they've got this integrated DNA assembly planning feature. Now, I'm like no geneticist, so help me out here.
Sure, it sounds really complex, but basically it simplifies things for researchers working with DNA. Instead of juggling a bunch of different tools and spreadsheets, they can design, visualize, and even simulate DNA constructs all in one place.
Oh, wow. So it's like an all-in-one platform specifically for DNA stuff.
Yeah, saves a ton of time and headaches, and
Mhm.
probably reduces errors too.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm guessing this ties into the next stage then, execute, right?
Yeah, and this is where it gets really interesting,
Okay, why?
because TeselaGen is all about real-time data entry, which in the research world is kind of a big deal.
Okay, I can see how that would be handy, but how big of a deal are we talking?
Well, for starters, it pretty much eliminates those transcription errors that can happen when you're manually entering data later.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But more importantly, it allows researchers to analyze data as it's being collected.
Ah, so you're not waiting till the end to make sense of everything.
Exactly. They can spot trends, identify problems early on, potentially even adjust their experiments in real time. It can drastically speed things up.
Okay, wow, that's huge. So it's like they're trying to eliminate all those tedious manual steps that bog us down.
Yes, exactly. Streamlining the process so researchers can focus on, well, actual research.
Love it. Now, speaking of streamlining, let's talk about collaborate. They talk about cross-team data sharing and version control, which, like, in today's research world seems essential.
Absolutely. Especially now when so much research is collaborative. You've got teams, sometimes all over the world, working on the same project.
Right. It's not just someone alone in a lab anymore.
Exactly. And that's where this ELN shines, providing a central hub where everyone can access the latest data, track changes, collaborate seamlessly.
So it's like having a real-time shared workspace for your entire team, no matter where they are.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a game changer, especially for those massive research projects with like a zillion moving parts. But they also mentioned this being good for smaller groups too. How so? Yeah, because even if you're not working on like a massive global research project, having like a centralized, organized system,
Right.
that's got to be helpful.
It makes a huge difference. Think
Yeah.
about it. No more digging through stacks of notebooks for that one protocol.
Oh, tell me about it. Been there, done that.
Right. With the ELN, everything's right there. Easy to find, easy to share. It eliminates so much confusion and wasted time.
Okay, that makes sense. And it'd be easier to like train new people too, right?
Exactly. Onboarding new team members becomes so much smoother. They have access to everything they need right from the start. No more deciphering someone else's handwriting.
Plus, if you're working with like outside collaborators, ever
Oh yeah, that becomes so much easier too. You can control who sees what, track any changes that are made.
keeps everyone on the same page.
Exactly. And speaking of keeping things consistent, we have to talk about reproducibility.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge part of research.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Being able to replicate experiments is essential for science to move forward. But with the old ways of doing things, like handwritten notes, it could be really tough.
Yeah, I can see that. You might miss some little detail that ends up being super important.
Exactly. And then someone else tries to reproduce your work, and they get different results. It can cause all sorts of headaches. But with TeselaGen, with the version control and all the detailed tracking, you create this like super clear record of every single step.
So it's not just about making your life easier, it's about making sure your research is rock solid,
Exactly. It's about transparency and accountability in science.
which is good for everyone, really.
Right. It helps build trust in research findings.
Totally. And this kind of ties into that whole open science movement that's becoming a bigger deal, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The idea behind open science is to make research more transparent and accessible so we can accelerate discoveries. And tools like TeselaGen's ELN, they're a huge step in that direction.
So it's not just about individual labs being more efficient anymore, it's about changing the way science is done on a larger scale.
Exactly. Okay, so we've talked about planning, execution, collaboration, but there's one more thing I wanted to touch on that I found really interesting in the brochure.
Okay, what's that?
Their focus on DNA sequence visualization.
Okay.
Now, I know we've touched on DNA stuff already, but this is different. This
Okay.
is about being able to see complex genetic data, like visually represented.
Okay. So instead of just looking at a bunch of letters, you'd actually see what the DNA sequence looks like.
In a way, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it seeing patterns, mutations, anything unusual, it would just pop out at you.
I'm a very visual person. I have to say that's pretty cool.
Right. It's like the difference between like reading a description of a painting versus actually seeing it.
Oh, totally. You can read about brushstrokes and colors all day long, but until you see how they all come together.
Exactly. And for researchers working with DNA, having that visual representation could lead to some really amazing breakthroughs.
Okay, yeah. I'm starting to get why they call this a next generation ELM. It really does seem like they're trying to change the game here.
Right. And I think their tagline sums it up perfectly. Push the boundaries of science. We'll handle the rest. Like, how can you not be inspired by that?
It's a bold statement,
Yeah.
but I kind of like it. They're not just selling software. It's like they actually want to partner with researchers.
Right. And that's a trend we're seeing more and more of these days. It's not enough to just offer a digital tool anymore. You got to understand the people using it.
Totally. And it seems like TeselaGen gets that because they specifically mention academics, startups, enterprises, like everyone, basically.
It's smart. It shows they understand that researchers have different needs depending on, well, where they're doing their research.
For sure. Like a huge company is going to have different priorities than like a university lab.
Exactly. Academics might be worried about cost,
Yeah.
right? Startups probably want something that can grow with them.
Hmm.
And big companies, data security is huge for them.
So TeselaGen is aiming to be like the all-in-one solution for every kind of research team.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Yeah.
But let's bring this back to everyone listening, right?
Right.
Maybe
Okay.
you're already using an ELN, maybe you're not. What's the takeaway here?
Yeah, what's the bottom line?
Well, I think it's that these digital lab notebooks, especially the ones like TeselaGen, they're like really focused on collaboration. They have the potential to like fundamentally change how research is done.
Okay, yeah. It's not just about going paperless anymore.
Right. It's about faster discoveries, better collaboration. It's about like making science work better for everyone.
So if you're listening to this and dreading going back to your stack of notebooks or, spending more time organizing data than actually analyzing it,
Yeah,
maybe it's time to see what ELNs can do for you.
definitely.
And hey, even if TeselaGen isn't the right fit, there are other options out there. The important thing is to find what works for you and your research.
Couldn't agree more. At the end of the day, the most exciting research happens when scientists have the tools they need, right?
Yeah.
Tools that let them focus on the science itself.
Totally. Tools for exploration. And on that note, that's a wrap on our deep dive into TeselaGen's ELN.
Hope you enjoyed it.
We hope this is giving you some food for thought because the world of research is changing fast and who knows what exciting tools are just around the corner.
Exactly.
Till next time.